In the heart of an ancient enchanted forest, a new era dawns with a prophecy that foretells the rise of a great leader. Aurion, the young and gifted wolf, stands on the brink of his destiny as his world faces a looming darkness. As the shadows gather and old powers stir, the ancestral wolves must awaken their true potential and unite to safeguard their future. Join us as we embark on a journey of discovery, courage, and epic battles. The fate of their world rests in their paws, and the adventure begins now. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue over the ancient forest of legends. This forest was a place of immense power and mystery, where every tree, rock, and stream held a story. The ancient trees towered high, their branches forming a natural canopy that filtered the twilight into a soft, ethereal glow. The forest floor was a tapestry of vibrant flora, with flowers that seemed to shimmer in the fading light, and moss-covered stones that whispered of ages past. In the heart of this mystical realm lay a secluded glade, known only to the most revered of the wolf pack, the ancestral wolves. This was where the spirits of their ancestors were said to gather, and where the power of the land was strongest. It was here that Aurion, the young and promising wolf, prepared for a ceremony that would mark the beginning of his true journey. Aurion stood at the edge of the glade, his silver fur gleaming in the last rays of the sun. His eyes, a striking shade of emerald green, were filled with a mix of anticipation and apprehension. Surrounding him were the ancestral wolves, Ignis, Terra, Zephyr, and Lyra, each embodying one of the elemental forces that governed their world. Ignis, with his fur like molten lava and eyes burning with intense flames, was the embodiment of fire. Terra, strong and unyielding, had fur as dark as the earth and eyes that mirrored the deep, rich soil. Zephyr, agile and swift, had fur that shifted with the colors of the sky and eyes that sparkled like the wind. Lyra, the pack's leader, exuded grace and wisdom, her fur a blend of moonlight and starlight, her eyes reflecting the calm, steady light of the stars. The ceremony began with Lyra invoking the ancient rites. She chanted in a language older than the forest itself, her voice resonating with the power of the land. As she spoke, a soft, bluish glow began to emanate from the ground, forming intricate patterns that danced around Aurion.
Aurion, you stand at the threshold of greatness. To fulfill your destiny, you must prove yourself worthy of the elemental powers.
The strength of the land flows through you. You must learn to harness its power and respect its balance.
Your journey will test your agility and wisdom. Trust in yourself and the guidance of the wind.
You are destined to lead, Aurion. Embrace your role with courage and integrity.
As the ceremony continued, Lyra revealed an ancient prophecy that had been passed down through generations. It spoke of a time when the balance of their world would be threatened by an ancient darkness, and only a leader with a pure heart and unwavering spirit would have the power to restore harmony.
The prophecy tells of a great evil rising from the depths of our world. It will test us all, and only by uniting our strengths and embracing our true potential can we hope to overcome it. Aurion, you are the key to fulfilling this prophecy.
Just as the ceremony reached its climax, a chilling wind swept through the glade, extinguishing the protective glow and causing the ancient trees to groan ominously. The air grew heavy, and the once serene forest seemed to hold its breath. The ground trembled slightly, and a deep, foreboding growl echoed through the trees. From the shadows emerged a figure cloaked in darkness, a being of immense power and malevolence. Its eyes glowed with an eerie light, and its presence exuded an aura of pure, unrelenting darkness. The ancient prophecy had begun to unfold, and the darkness that had been foretold was now manifesting before them. The ancestral wolves instinctively positioned themselves around Aurion, their elemental powers flaring to life. Ignis's flames roared defiantly, Terra's earth rumbled in response, Zephyr's winds whipped into a fierce gale, and Lyra's light shone with unwavering resolve. The darkness advanced, its malevolent energy seeping into the very fabric of the forest.
I felt a surge of fear, but also an undeniable sense of duty. I stepped forward, my heart pounding with determination. I had been chosen to lead and protect, and though I was still young, I could not falter now. Drawing upon the strength and wisdom imparted by the ancestral wolves, I called upon the latent power within me. A brilliant light began to emanate from my fur, pushing back against the encroaching darkness. The glade was filled with a fierce battle of light and shadow as the forces of good clashed with the forces of evil.
Aurion, you must seek out the ancient artifacts hidden throughout the land. They hold the power to vanquish this darkness and restore balance to our world. The path will be perilous, but you are not alone. The ancestral wolves will guide you, but the journey is yours to undertake.
The darkness retreated momentarily, but it was clear that this was only the beginning. Aurion looked at his pack, their faces resolute and filled with hope. With a deep breath and a nod of determination, he accepted the call to adventure. As the chapter drew to a close, Aurion set off on his quest, leaving behind the glade and the comforting presence of the ancestral wolves. The forest, once vibrant and full of life, now seemed more foreboding, a reflection of the trials that lay ahead. This extended chapter provides a rich, detailed introduction to Aurion's world and sets the stage for the epic journey ahead. It establishes key characters, introduces the central conflict, and sets up the quest that will drive the story forward. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Black X Wolf Entertainment. Join us as we explore the realms of innovation and captivating stories together.
With the power of the elements coursing through their veins, Aurion and the ancestral wolves believed they were invincible. But as the night whispers of an approaching darkness, a new challenge rises from the shadows, threatening to shatter the fragile balance they fought so hard to protect. In a world where ancient prophecies stir and unseen enemies lurk, the true test of their power begins. Brace yourself, for the gathering storm is about to break. The forest was eerily quiet, the kind of silence that made even the bravest creatures wary. A heavy fog clung to the ground, swirling around the ancient oaks like ghostly tendrils. The ritual had ended, but its effects lingered in the air, a tangible energy that pulsed with the rhythm of the earth itself. The ancestral wolves had awakened a power they barely understood, and with it came a sense of unease that gnawed at the edges of their consciousness. Aurion prowled the perimeter of the sacred grove, his silver fur gleaming under the pale light of the moon. His senses were heightened, every sound and movement amplified by the power he now wielded. But it wasn't just the forest that he was listening to. It was something deeper, something darker. A presence that had not been there before. He paused at the edge of a clearing, his sharp eyes scanning the shadows. His instincts screamed that something was wrong, but there was nothing. No scent, no sound, just an oppressive stillness. He growled softly, a low rumble that echoed through the trees.
Aurion, you sense it too, don't you?
Aurion nodded, not taking his eyes off the darkness. Something has changed, Terra. The ritual has awakened more than just our power. There's a disturbance in the balance, something unnatural. Terra's deep green eyes darkened.
Do you think it's the darkness from the prophecy? Could it be coming sooner than we anticipated?
I don't know, but we can't afford to be complacent. We need to be prepared for anything. As the night wore on, the ancestral wolves gathered once more, this time around a roaring fire at the heart of their territory. The flames cast flickering shadows on their faces, highlighting the tension in their eyes. Each wolf was a master of their element, yet there was an unspoken fear among them, fear of the unknown.
I've scouted the skies. There's nothing out there, but the winds are restless. They whisper of danger, but I can't pinpoint where it's coming from.
We're wasting time. If there's a threat, let it come. I'll turn it to ash before it can lay a paw on our land.
We cannot rush into battle without understanding our enemy, Ignis. Fire may burn bright, but it can also be extinguished.
Ignis growled, but he knew Lyra was right. He sat back, the flames reflecting in his eyes as he waited for Aurion to speak. Aurion stepped forward, his presence commanding immediate attention. We've all felt it, the shift in the balance. The ritual has made us stronger, but it has also drawn attention to us. There's something out there, watching, waiting. We must be vigilant. The wolves nodded, but before anyone could respond, a sharp howl pierced the night, echoing from the forest's edge. It was a call they didn't recognize, one that didn't belong to any of the ancestral wolves. Aurion's eyes narrowed. Stay here, I'll investigate. But before he could move, a figure emerged from the shadows, tall, imposing, with fur as dark as the void and eyes that glowed with an unnatural light. The figure stepped into the light of the fire, revealing a wolf unlike any they had seen before. His presence was overwhelming, radiating power and a cold, calculating intelligence. The ancestral wolves tensed, ready to strike if necessary, but Aurion held up a paw, signaling them to wait. "Who are you?" The dark wolf smiled, a chilling expression that did little to ease the anxiety of the pack.
I am Noctis, a traveler from a distant land. I've come to offer you a warning.
Aurion's eyes narrowed. A warning from whom? Noctis's smile widened.
From forces you cannot yet comprehend. Your ritual has awakened powers that should have remained dormant. You have drawn the attention of beings far older and far more dangerous than you can imagine. I am here to tell you. Turn back now while you still can.
Ignis leapt to his feet, flames crackling along his fur.
Is that a threat?
Noctis met his gaze without flinching.
It's a promise. The storm that is coming will not be stopped by mere fire or wind. You are playing with forces beyond your control.
Aurion stepped forward, his eyes locked on Noctis. If there is a storm coming, we will face it. The ancestral wolves do not fear the unknown. We were born of the elements, and we will defend our world with everything we have. Noctis studied Aurion for a long moment before nodding slowly.
Very well, but know this. The darkness is not what you think it is. It is older than the earth itself, and it is coming for you. When it does, you will need more than elemental power to survive.
The following days were filled with tension and preparation. Aurion led the pack in training, pushing them to harness their elemental powers to new heights. They honed their abilities, their bond growing stronger with each passing day, but the sense of unease only deepened.
Terror felt it first. A tremor in the earth, subtle at first, but growing stronger with each passing hour. The ground seemed to pulse with a life of its own, as if something was stirring deep beneath the surface.
Something's coming. The earth is warning us, but I can't tell what it is.
Aurion nodded, his expression grim.
We need to be ready for anything. The storm that Noctis spoke of, it's already begun.
As if in response to his words, the sky darkened, clouds swirling in a chaotic dance above the forest. The wind picked up, howling through the trees, and the temperature dropped, a chill seeping into the bones of every living creature.
Lyra, standing by a river that flowed through their territory, felt the water grow colder, more turbulent. The current, usually calm and steady, began to thrash and churn as if in fear.
Zephyr, soaring high above, watched as the clouds twisted and turned, forming shapes that seemed almost alive. The wind was no longer her ally. It was wild, unpredictable, and dangerous.
Ignis, his flames burning hotter than ever, found that the fire he commanded was harder to control, as if it had a mind of its own, resisting his will.
Aurion stood at the heart of the storm, feeling the power of the elements around him. The ritual had given them strength, but it had also unleashed something far more powerful, something they were not prepared for. That night, as the storm raged on, Aurion found himself unable to sleep. He stood on a cliff overlooking the forest, the wind tugging at his fur, the storm echoing the turmoil in his mind. He was joined by Lyra, her presence soothing despite the chaos around them.
You're worried?
Aurion sighed, his gaze fixed on the horizon.
This storm, it's more than just weather. It feels alive, as if it has a purpose. I've never felt anything like it before.
Lyra nodded, her blue eyes reflecting the turmoil in the water below.
We're being tested, Aurion. The elements are challenging us, forcing us to prove ourselves. But what if this is just the beginning? What if the real threat is still out there, waiting?
Aurion didn't respond immediately. He knew she was right, but he couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial. The storm was a distraction, a test of their strength, but what if it was also a warning? As they stood there in silence, a sudden flash of light caught Aurion's attention.
Do you see that?
Aurion nodded.
Stay here, I'll investigate.
He moved quickly, his body a blur as he raced through the forest, the storm raging around him. As he drew closer to the source of the light, he felt the ground tremble beneath his paws, the air growing colder with each step. When he finally reached the clearing, he stopped in his tracks, his breath catching in his throat. In the center of the clearing stood a massive stone pillar, ancient and covered in strange symbols that glowed with an eerie light. Around it, the ground was scorched as if by some powerful force, and at the base of the pillar, a dark shape moved, shifting and writhing like a shadow come to life. Aurion felt a chill run down his spine as he realized what he was looking at. It was the darkness Noctis had warned them about, an ancient, malevolent force that had been awakened by their ritual, and it was coming for them. Aurion knew he had to act fast. He howled, a call that echoed through the storm, summoning the ancestral wolves to his side. They arrived quickly, their eyes widening as they saw the pillar and the darkness that surrounded it.
What is that?
Aurion shook his head.
I don't know, but it's powerful. We need to destroy it before it can grow any stronger.
The wolves moved as one, their elemental powers combining in a display of strength that shook the earth. Fire, water, wind, and earth surged toward the pillar, but as the elements collided with it, something unexpected happened. The darkness absorbed the energy, growing larger and more powerful with each attack. The wolves recoiled, their eyes wide with shock as they realized that they were only making it stronger. Aurion growled, his mind racing as he tried to think of a solution. But before he could act, the darkness surged forward, lashing out with tendrils of shadow that wrapped around him, pulling him toward the pillar.
Aurion!
But it was too late. The darkness engulfed him, pulling him into the void as the storm reached its peak. The last thing he heard before everything went black was the howls of his pack, their cries of despair echoing through the night. End of Chapter 2. The storm has only just begun. Will Aurion and the ancestral wolves find a way to overcome this ancient darkness, or will they fall to the very powers they've awakened? Don't miss the next chapter. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay tuned for the epic continuation of this saga.
In the aftermath of their fateful encounter with the ancient darkness, Aurion is ensnared in a nightmarish realm where reality warps and shadows distort his every move. This shadowy prison thrives on fear and despair, and as Aurion struggles to maintain his grip on hope, the ancestral wolves must face their own daunting trials. The darkness is spreading rapidly through their world, threatening to engulf everything in its path. Can Aurion's pack overcome their deepest fears and rescue their leader before all hope is lost? Prepare for a journey into the heart of darkness, where every shadow harbors a secret and the true battle for their survival begins. Aurion's consciousness slowly returned, but the world around him was anything but familiar. The ground beneath his paws was a cold, blackened expanse, shifting with every step he took. The trees, once towering sentinels of the forest, now loomed like grotesque phantoms with gnarled branches, reaching out like skeletal fingers. Above, a sky of swirling, stormy clouds crackled with intermittent flashes of lightning that cast eerie, dancing shadows across the barren land. Aurion stood in the center of this twisted nightmare, the air thick with a palpable sense of dread. The darkness seemed to pulse and writhe, as if it were a living entity intent on consuming everything in its path. Aurion took a deep breath, trying to steady himself, but the suffocating atmosphere made it hard to focus. Whispers slithered through the darkness, insidious and menacing. They spoke of his failures, his shortcomings, and the inevitable collapse of his world. Aurion saw visions of his past, moments of victory turned into scenes of loss. He saw himself standing helpless as his pack fell to the Shadow Titan's influence, their world crumbling into chaos. The darkness taunted him with these visions, trying to break his resolve. Aurion felt a deep chill run through him, but he knew that succumbing to these fears was not an option. Summoning every ounce of his inner strength, he called upon the light within him. The glow of his aura began to push back against the encroaching shadows, creating small islands of illumination amidst the darkness. The struggle was fierce and unrelenting. Every step Aurion took forward was met with a counterattack from the shadowy tendrils that sought to drag him back into despair. He realized that the key to overcoming this dark realm was not just to fight the external forces, but to confront his own fears and doubts head-on. Back in the real world, the storm continued to rage, its fury a reflection of the turmoil within the ancestral wolves. The once serene forest was now a battlefield, with the darkness spreading like a malignant disease. Ignis, usually the embodiment of fiery strength, was struggling to control his overwhelming rage. His flames roared uncontrollably, scorching the ground and threatening to set the entire forest ablaze. The anger that once fueled his power now seemed to consume him, leaving him on the edge of madness. Lyra, burdened by the weight of leadership, was grappling with self-doubt. Her once confident instincts were now clouded by fear and uncertainty. The responsibility of saving her pack and Aurion weighed heavily on her shoulders, causing her to question her decisions and abilities. Terra, the guardian of the earth, was facing a crisis of control. The ground beneath him trembled and cracked, echoing his internal struggle. The earth, once a steady and unyielding force, now mirrored his own instability, making it difficult for him to maintain balance and support his pack. Zephyr, connected to the wind, found her once guiding breezes now erratic and tumultuous. The wind's chaotic patterns reflected her own sense of vulnerability and fear. Her ability to harness the wind's power was faltering, leaving her feeling powerless and exposed. The ancestral wolves knew they had to overcome their personal trials to stand a chance against the spreading darkness. Each wolf faced their own inner demons, and their elemental powers weakened as their fears grew. They needed to confront and overcome their individual challenges to find the strength to rescue Aurion and halt the encroaching shadow. In their darkest hour, the wolves encountered Noctis once again. His presence was both unsettling and enigmatic. Noctis, who had previously been a formidable adversary, now offered his assistance. He revealed that he had knowledge of the Shadow Realm where Aurion was trapped and could guide them through it. The wolves were hesitant, torn between their mistrust of Noctis and the urgency of their situation. Noctis explained that the Shadow Realm was home to the Shadow Titan, an ancient and malevolent entity that thrived on fear and despair. He revealed that to rescue Aurion and defeat the Shadow Titan, they would need to face their own fears and overcome a series of trials. Despite their reservations, the wolves decided to accept Noctis's help. They followed him through the storm-ravaged forest to a hidden portal, an ancient arcane doorway that led into the heart of the Shadow Realm. The portal pulsed with a dark energy, casting a foreboding glow that signaled the beginning of their perilous journey. To enter the Shadow Realm, each wolf had to face a personal trial, one that would challenge their deepest fears and insecurities. The trials were designed to test their strength, resolve, and unity. Ignis faced a trial where his uncontrollable rage manifested as a torrent of fiery beasts. He had to learn to harness his anger, using it constructively rather than letting it consume him. He focused on controlling the flames, shaping them into a protective barrier that shielded his pack from the oncoming fire. Lyra's trial was a labyrinth of shifting shadows, where her instincts and decisions were constantly challenged. She had to trust her gut feelings and make quick decisions, navigating through the ever-changing maze to prove her leadership and intuition. Terra's trial involved stabilizing a crumbling earth where the ground was perpetually shifting and breaking apart. He had to let go of his need to control every aspect of the earth, learning to work with the natural flow of the land and restore balance. Zephyr faced a storm of chaotic winds that threatened to tear her apart. She had to confront her fears of vulnerability and learn to accept and channel the unpredictable nature of the wind. By embracing her fears, she was able to harness the wind's power and use it to guide her pack through the storm. Each wolf's trial was a grueling test of their abilities and their bond as a pack. As they overcame their personal challenges, they discovered new depths of their elemental powers and forged a stronger connection with one another. The portal opened to a desolate and bleak landscape, a mirror of the fear and despair that had consumed Aurion. The sky was an unending expanse of darkness, and the ground was a shifting, treacherous terrain of shadow and ruin. The wolves entered the Shadow Realm, their combined elemental powers creating a shield of light against the encroaching darkness. They navigated through the twisted, surreal landscape, their senses heightened as they sought out Aurion's presence. In the distance, they saw Aurion, ensnared by the shadowy tendrils that coiled around him like serpents. The darkness was draining his strength and hope, and his aura was dimming. The wolves knew they had to act quickly to save their leader. They combined their elemental powers, focusing their energy into a concentrated beam of light. The power of their unity pushed back against the darkness, creating a path through the shadowy tendrils. With each step, the darkness recoiled, but the struggle was far from over. Just as they were about to reach Aurion, the ground shook violently, and a colossal shadowy figure emerged from the depths of the realm, the Shadow Titan. The Shadow Titan towered over the ancestral wolves, its presence casting a deep, oppressive shadow over the land. The wolves braced themselves for the battle of their lives, their powers resonating with a new intensity. The fight against the darkness had reached its climax, but the outcome was uncertain. As the wolves prepared to confront the Shadow Titan, the chapter ended on a suspenseful note, leaving the fate of Aurion and the pack hanging in the balance. The darkness was more formidable than they had anticipated, and the true challenge was only beginning. Be sure to like, comment and subscribe to Black X Wolf Entertainment. Join us as we explore the realms of innovation and captivating stories together.
In the heart of the forgotten forest, where time itself whispers ancient secrets, the past and the present are about to collide. Aurion's journey has taken him far from the safety of his pack, leading him deeper into a world where shadows of the past loom large and the line between myth and reality blurs. But as he uncovers the buried truths of the ancestral wolves, he must confront an ancient power that threatens not just his future, but the very fabric of their world. The echoes of time are calling, and the answers they hold may be more dangerous than the questions. Prepare to journey into the unknown, where the past holds the key to the future. Aurion's journey had led him to the edge of the Forbidden Valley, a place shrouded in mystery and fear. The valley was said to be the resting place of ancient spirits, wolves who had once walked the land in an era long forgotten. The air here was thick with an unnatural stillness, as if the very wind dared not disturb the secrets buried within the earth. The entrance to the valley was marked by two towering stone pillars, weathered and cracked, covered in ancient runes that glowed faintly in the dim light. As Aurion approached, he could feel the weight of countless eyes watching him, though he knew no living creature resided here. The ground beneath his paws was cold and unyielding, a stark contrast to the vibrant forest he had left behind. With each step, the shadows seemed to grow longer, and the sky above darkened, as if the valley itself was drawing in the light. Aurion's heart pounded in his chest, but he pressed on, driven by the urgency of his quest. The artifact he sought, the Eye of Eternity, was said to be hidden deep within this cursed land, guarded by the spirits of the ancient wolves. It was a relic of unimaginable power, capable of bending time and space to its wielder's will. But it was also a source of great danger, for it had the potential to unravel the very fabric of reality. As Aurion ventured deeper into the valley, the air grew colder and the silence became oppressive. The path before him twisted and turned, leading him into a labyrinth of jagged rocks and gnarled trees. Just as doubt began to creep into his mind, he heard it, a low, mournful howl that echoed through the valley, chilling him to the bone. Aurion froze, his ears perked and his muscles tensed. The howl was unlike any he had heard before. It carried with it a sense of ancient sorrow, a lament for a time long past. As the sound faded, a figure emerged from the shadows, a wolf unlike any Aurion had ever seen. This wolf was ethereal, its form flickering like a fading memory. Its fur was a pale silver, almost translucent, and its eyes glowed with a soft, otherworldly light. It was Echo, the guardian of the valley, a spirit bound to the land, tasked with protecting the secrets of the ancient wolves. Aurion felt a shiver run down his spine as Echo approached, its gaze piercing through him as if reading his very soul. "You seek the Eye of Eternity." Echo's voice was soft but resonant, echoing within Aurion's mind rather than his ears. Aurion nodded, summoning his courage. "I do. The darkness that plagues our world grows stronger, and I need the Eye to stop it." Echo tilted its head, studying Aurion with a mixture of curiosity and sadness. "The Eye is a tool of great power, but it is also a curse. Many have sought it and all have failed. Do you believe you are worthy of such a burden?" Aurion hesitated for a moment, the weight of Echo's words settling heavily on him. "I don't know if I'm worthy," he admitted, "but I know that I must try. My pack, my world, depends on it." Echo's form shimmered as if in response to Aurion's determination. "Very well," it said after a long pause, "but be warned, young wolf. The Eye does not grant power lightly, and the trials you must face will test more than your strength. They will test your heart, your mind, and your soul. To succeed, you must confront not just the darkness of this world, but the darkness within yourself." Echo led Aurion through the valley, their path taking them to the very heart of the Forbidden Land. The deeper they went, the more the environment seemed to warp around them. Time itself seemed to distort. One moment, the sun was high in the sky, and the next, it was nightfall. Aurion struggled to maintain his bearings as the world shifted unpredictably. Finally, they reached a vast open space, the ground covered in strange, swirling patterns that seemed to move of their own accord. In the center stood an ancient stone altar, on which rested a small, intricately carved chest, the Eye of Eternity. But before Aurion could approach, the ground beneath him trembled, and from the shadows emerged three colossal figures, spectral wolves, each representing a different aspect of time: the past, the present, and the future. The first, a wolf with fur as dark as night, stepped forward. Its eyes were filled with the weight of countless memories, and its voice rumbled like distant thunder. I am the guardian of the past. To claim the Eye, you must first confront your own history. You must face the ghosts of your past, the choices you have made, and the consequences that follow. The second wolf, with fur the color of twilight and eyes that gleamed like the setting sun, spoke next. I am the guardian of the present. To wield the Eye, you must master the moment. Your strength, your resolve, your very essence will be tested in the here and now. Prove that you are worthy of the power you seek. The third wolf, its form constantly shifting and changing, spoke last. I am the guardian of the future. The Eye holds the power to shape what is yet to come, but with that power comes responsibility. You must confront the possibilities, the uncertainties, and the burdens of the future you wish to create. Aurion felt a surge of fear and doubt as the three guardians circled him. The weight of the trials ahead was overwhelming, but he knew there was no turning back. He had come this far, and the fate of his pack, perhaps even the entire world, rested on his shoulders. The first trial began as the guardian of the past led Aurion to a secluded grove, where the air was thick with the scent of old memories. The trees here were ancient, their branches heavy with the weight of time. As Aurion stepped forward, the world around him began to blur, and he found himself standing in a familiar place, his childhood den. But something was different. The den was dark and cold, the warmth and safety he remembered replaced by an overwhelming sense of loss. As he looked around, he saw figures from his past, friends, family, mentors, all staring at him with eyes filled with disappointment and sorrow. Aurion's heart sank as he realized what he was seeing. These were the moments in his life where he had failed, where he had made mistakes that had hurt those he cared about. The memories played out before him, each one a reminder of the pain he had caused. But as the memories unfolded, Aurion also saw something else. Moments of kindness, courage, and love. He saw the times he had stood up for others, the times he had shown compassion, the times he had learned from his mistakes. These memories shone like beacons of light in the darkness, reminding him that he was more than just his failures. With each memory, Aurion felt a weight lift from his shoulders. He had made mistakes, yes, but he had also grown and learned from them. He was not defined by his past, but by the choices he made in the present. With a deep breath, he faced the guardian of the past, his eyes clear and resolute. I have made mistakes, Aurion said, his voice steady, but I've also learned from them. I am not perfect, but I'm willing to grow, to become better. I will not let my past define me, but I will learn from it. The guardian of the past nodded, its eyes softening. You have faced your past with courage and honesty. You are worthy to continue. The second trial began immediately, as the guardian of the present stepped forward. The world around Aurion shifted once more, and he found himself standing in a dense, misty forest. The air was thick with tension, and the ground beneath his paws was slick with mud. In the distance, Aurion heard the sound of a struggle, growls, snarls, and the unmistakable sound of a fierce battle. Without hesitation, he sprinted towards the noise, his heart pounding with urgency. As he broke through the trees, he saw a scene that made his blood run cold. A group of wolves, his pack, were surrounded by shadowy figures, their eyes glowing with malevolent intent. The wolves were fighting bravely, but they were outnumbered and outmatched. Aurion's heart clenched as he recognized his friends, his family, struggling to hold their ground. Without a second thought, Aurion leaped into the fray, his claws and teeth flashing as he fought alongside his pack. The battle was fierce, the shadowy figures relentless, but Aurion fought with everything he had. His movements were precise, his attacks powerful, and his resolve unshakable. But as the battle raged on, Aurion realized something. This was not just a fight for survival. This was a test of his leadership. his ability to stand strong in the face of overwhelming odds and to protect those he cared about. Every decision he made, every move he took had to be calculated, precise and effective. The battle seemed to last for an eternity, but eventually the shadowy figures began to retreat, their forms dissipating into the mist. Aurion, bloodied and exhausted, stood tall, his chest heaving with exertion. His pack, though battered, was safe. The guardian of the present appeared before him, its eyes filled with approval. "You have proven your strength, your resolve, and your leadership. You are worthy to continue." The final trial began as the guardian of the future led Aurion to a vast open plain. The sky above was a swirling mass of clouds, and the ground beneath him was cracked and barren. The air was thick with the scent of burning earth, and the horizon was lined with the silhouettes of twisted, dying trees. As Aurion stood on the plain, he felt a deep sense of dread settle over him. The future he saw before him was bleak and desolate, a world ravaged by darkness and despair. But as he looked closer, he realized something else. This was a future shaped by the choices he had yet to make. The guardian of the future spoke, its voice a haunting echo. The future is not set in stone. It is shaped by the choices we make in the present. The eye of eternity holds the power to shape that future, but with that power comes great responsibility. What future do you wish to create, Aurion? And are you willing to bear the burden of that choice? Aurion closed his eyes, the weight of the question pressing down on him. The future was a terrifying, uncertain place, filled with potential and peril in equal measure. But he knew that he could not shy away from it. He had come too far, and the stakes were too high. With a deep breath, Aurion opened his eyes and faced the guardian of the future. "I will not run from the future," he said, his voice firm. "I will face it head-on, and I will do everything in my power to create a future of hope, of light, and of peace. I will bear the burden of my choices, and I will use the eye to protect my pack, my world, and all that I hold dear." The guardian of the future nodded, its form beginning to fade. "You have shown courage, wisdom, and strength. You are worthy to claim the eye of eternity. But remember, Aurion, this is just the beginning. The future is a long and winding path, and your journey is far from over." As Aurion steps into the unknown, with the eye of eternity now in his possession, the fate of his world hangs in the balance. The trials he has faced have only prepared him for the greater battles to come, battles that will test his strength, his courage, and his very soul. What dangers await him in the shadows? And who is the mysterious voice that taunts him from the darkness? The journey continues in the next chapter of Aurion and the Ancestral Wolves. Don't miss it. Subscribe to Black X Wolf Entertainment, hit that notification bell, and join Aurion on his epic quest. The adventure is just beginning. In the deep recesses of the ancient wolf world, where time itself seemed to bend and twist under the weight of forgotten legends, a storm was brewing. Not a storm of wind or rain, but one of destiny. The eye of eternity, now resting around Aurion's neck, pulsed with an energy that transcended the boundaries of the past, present, and future. But with this power came the shadow of a new threat, a force that would test Aurion's resolve, challenge his very beliefs, and shatter the vows he once held sacred. As the echoes of the past whisper warnings and the future looms with uncertainty, Aurion must confront not only his enemies, but the darkness within himself. The path ahead is fraught with danger, betrayal, and the possibility of losing everything he holds dear. The time has come for Aurion to face his greatest challenge yet, one that could change the fate of the wolf world forever. The chapter opens with a vivid description of the wolf world, painting a picture of the environment as a reflection of the tension building within Aurion and his pack. The sky, once clear and bright, now looms heavy with dark clouds, signaling the coming of a great storm. The air is thick with the scent of rain and earth, and the distant rumble of thunder grows louder with each passing moment. Aurion stands at the edge of a towering cliff, overlooking the vast expanse of the wolf world below. His mind is a whirlwind of thoughts, each one colliding with the next as he contemplates the trials he has faced and the uncertain future that lies ahead. The eye of eternity, hanging around his neck, feels heavier than ever before. Its energy pulses through him, a constant reminder of the power he now wields and the responsibilities that come with it. The pack, sensing the change in the atmosphere, gathers around their leader. Their eyes, filled with concern and anticipation, reflect their unspoken questions. What will happen next? What dangers lie ahead? And most importantly, can Aurion truly protect them from the forces that threaten their existence? As the storm begins to close in, the ground beneath Aurion's paws starts to tremble, and the sky above crackles with lightning. Suddenly, a deep, resonant voice echoes through the air, a voice that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. It is the voice of the ancients, the legendary wolves who once ruled the wolf world with wisdom and strength. "Aurion," the voice calls, carrying with it the weight of countless ages. "The time has come for you to face the truth. The eye of eternity holds the power to shape the future, but with that power comes a great price. The balance of the wolf world is in jeopardy, and the choices you make will determine its fate." The voice warns Aurion of an impending cataclysm, a rift in the fabric of the wolf world that threatens to consume everything in darkness. This rift, the ancients reveal, was not born from an external force but from the very power of the eye itself. The artifact's ability to manipulate time and reality has created a tear in the natural order, and only Aurion can mend it. But to do so, he must make a sacrifice that will test the very core of his being. The ancients do not reveal what this sacrifice will entail, only that it will require Aurion to break the most sacred vow he has ever made. Torn between his duty to his pack and the weight of the ancients' warning, Aurion is plunged into a state of inner turmoil. He knows that to protect the future of the wolf world, he may have to betray his own principles, but the alternative, the complete destruction of everything he loves, is unthinkable. As the storm reaches its peak, Aurion's thoughts are interrupted by a sudden piercing howl. It is a call to arms, a signal that the enemy is near. The shadows that have been lurking at the edges of the wolf world are now closing in, and they are led by a new, terrifying adversary, one that has been born from the very rift the ancients spoke of. This adversary, a monstrous wolf forged from pure shadow and chaos, emerges from the darkness with a roar that shakes the earth. Its eyes burn with an unholy light, and its presence radiates malevolence. The pack, though loyal to Aurion, cannot help but feel a chill of fear as they face this new threat. Aurion, however, does not waver. The storm within him has subsided, replaced by a steely resolve. He knows that the battle ahead will not be easy, and that the choices he makes will define the future of the wolf world. With a fierce determination, he leads his pack into the fray, ready to face whatever fate has in store for him. The ensuing battle is a brutal and chaotic struggle, with the forces of light and darkness clashing in a whirlwind of fury. The Riftborn, as the monstrous wolf is known, proves to be a formidable opponent, its very presence warping the reality around it. Time seems to slow and speed up at random intervals, and the terrain shifts unpredictably, making it nearly impossible for Aurion and his pack to gain the upper hand. Despite the odds, Aurion fights with a ferocity that belies his exhaustion. His every move is precise, his every strike calculated. The Eye of Eternity glows with an intense light, amplifying his strength and speed. But as the battle rages on, it becomes clear that the Eye's power comes at a cost. Each time Aurion taps into its energy, he feels a part of himself slipping away, as if the artifact is slowly consuming his very soul. The pack fights valiantly beside their leader, but they are gradually pushed back by the relentless onslaught of the Riftborn and its shadowy minions. The storm overhead grows more violent, with lightning striking the ground in rapid succession and the wind howling like a chorus of tortured souls. As the battle reaches its climax, Aurion finds himself face to face with the Riftborn. The two wolves circle each other, their eyes locked in a deadly stare. In that moment, Aurion realizes that this creature is not just an enemy. It is a reflection of the darkness within himself, the embodiment of the fear and doubt that have plagued him since he first took up the mantle of leadership. With a final, desperate effort, Aurion summons the full power of the Eye of Eternity. The artifact's energy surges through him, filling him with a strength unlike anything he has ever known. But he knows that using this power will come at a terrible cost. As the Riftborn lunges at him, Aurion makes his decision. He channels the energy of the Eye into a single, devastating attack, one that tears through the very fabric of reality itself. The Riftborn is consumed by the force of the blast, its form disintegrating into nothingness. But as the creature is destroyed, so too is the rift that created it. The tear in the fabric of the wolf world begins to heal, but at a great price. Aurion feels the energy of the Eye leaving him, and with it, a part of his own life force. The sacrifice the ancients spoke of has been made. Aurion has given up a part of his own soul to save his world. As the storm finally begins to subside, Aurion collapses to the ground, exhausted and weakened. His pack rushes to his side, their eyes filled with concern. But Aurion, though weakened, is at peace. He has made the ultimate sacrifice, but he has also saved his world from destruction. The storm has passed, but the scars it left behind will never fully heal. Aurion has faced the darkness within and made the ultimate sacrifice to protect his world, but the journey is far from over. As he lies weakened and drained, a new challenge looms on the horizon. The wolf world has been saved, but at what cost? And what new dangers will arise in the wake of the Riftborn's destruction? Join Aurion and his pack as they continue their epic journey in the next chapter of Aurion and the Ancestral Wolves. Don't miss a single moment of this thrilling adventure. Subscribe to Black X Wolf Entertainment, hit that notification bell and become a part of the legend. The fate of the wolf world is in your hands. In the shadow of the mountain where the winds never cease and the sun's rays barely reach, a new power stirs. The ancient wolf world, once thought to be at peace after Aurion's great sacrifice, now trembles under the weight of an awakening force. The Riftborn may have been vanquished, but its destruction has left behind echoes, whispers of a darkness that even the ancients dared not speak of. The chapter begins with a vivid description of the landscape, a barren, desolate place known as the Shadowlands. This area, untouched by time, is where the greatest warriors of the wolf world were laid to rest centuries ago. The ground is cracked and dry, the sky is a permanent twilight, and a chilling wind howls through the skeletal remains of ancient trees. Deep beneath the surface, where the roots of the earth meet the bones of the dead, something begins to stir. The camera pans through underground tunnels, dark and foreboding, until it reaches a massive chamber filled with the remains of fallen wolves. Their bones, though aged, still radiate a faint, eerie glow, an echo of the power they once wielded. Suddenly, the ground begins to tremble. The faint glow intensifies, and one by one the bones start to reassemble. The spirits of these fallen warriors, drawn by the remnants of the rift's power, begin to take shape once more. Their eyes, glowing with an unnatural light, snap open, and with a deafening roar, they burst through the earth, emerging into the Shadowlands. Far from the Shadowlands, Aurion is resting by a small stream, trying to regain his strength after the battle with the Riftborn. His body is scarred, his energy depleted, and his mind is plagued with doubts. The Eye of Eternity, once a beacon of guidance, now feels like a burden, its power unreliable and its whispers growing faint. As he stares into the water, his reflection suddenly shifts, revealing the face of an ancient wolf, a vision sent by the ancients. The vision speaks to Aurion, warning him of the awakening in the Shadowlands and the rising threat of the fallen warriors. These wolves, once noble and just, have been corrupted by the remnants of the Rift's power, and they now seek to destroy the very world they once protected. Aurion knows that he cannot face this new threat alone. He gathers his pack, their loyalty unwavering despite the dangers they have faced together. They set off toward the Shadowlands, knowing that they are walking into a battle unlike any they have faced before. The journey to the Shadowlands is fraught with peril. The landscape grows more hostile with each passing day, as if the very world is trying to stop them from reaching their destination. The sky darkens, the wind howls with an unnatural force, and the ground beneath their paws becomes unstable, shifting and cracking as they move. Along the way, they encounter the remnants of the Rift's corruption, creatures twisted and malformed by its dark energy. These abominations, once ordinary beasts of the wolf world, now possess unnatural strength and ferocity. The pack must fight their way through these enemies, their progress slowed by the constant attacks. Despite the challenges, Aurion leads his pack with determination. He knows that the fate of the wolf world rests on their shoulders, and he refuses to let fear or doubt hold him back. As they draw closer to the Shadowlands, the air grows thick with the scent of decay, and the distant howls of the fallen warriors echo through the night. When they finally arrive at the Shadowlands, the sight that greets them is one of utter desolation. The once sacred ground is now a battlefield, with the fallen warriors standing at the center, their forms twisted and grotesque. These wolves, once proud and noble, are now shadows of their former selves, their spirits corrupted by the darkness that has taken hold of them. Aurion steps forward, the eye of eternity glowing faintly at his chest. He calls out to the fallen warriors, trying to reach the remnants of their true selves buried beneath the corruption. But the spirits are beyond reason, their minds consumed by the desire for vengeance. The battle that ensues is fierce and chaotic. The fallen warriors fight with a strength born of rage and despair, their attacks relentless. Aurion and his pack are pushed to their limits, their unity and trust in each other the only things keeping them from being overwhelmed. Aurion, drawing on the last reserves of his strength, faces the leader of the fallen warriors, a massive wolf whose eyes burn with a malevolent light. This wolf, once the greatest of the ancients, now stands as the embodiment of the darkness that threatens to consume the wolf world. The battle between Aurion and the fallen leader is intense, with each blow shaking the very ground beneath them. The Eye of Eternity pulses with energy, but it is clear that Aurion is losing strength. Just as it seems that all is lost, Aurion remembers the warning of the ancients, that the power to defeat this darkness lies not in strength, but in sacrifice. Realizing what must be done, Aurion makes the ultimate decision. He channels the remaining energy of the Eye of Eternity into a single devastating attack, one that will destroy the leader of the fallen warriors and cleanse the Shadowlands of the Rift's corruption. But in doing so, he knows that he will be sacrificing a part of himself, a part that he may never regain. With a final powerful roar, Aurion unleashes the energy of the Eye. The leader of the fallen warriors is engulfed in light, its form disintegrating into nothingness. The other fallen warriors, their spirits freed from the corruption, slowly fade away, leaving the Shadowlands in peace once more. But as the light fades, Aurion collapses, his strength completely drained. The pack rushes to his side, their eyes filled with fear and concern. Aurion, though weakened, feels a sense of peace. He has done what needed to be done, and the wolf world is safe. At least for now. The battle is over, but the scars it left behind will take time to heal. Aurion has once again made the ultimate sacrifice, but at what cost? As the wolf world begins to recover from the devastation, new challenges and threats are sure to emerge. Will Aurion have the strength to continue, or will the darkness finally claim him? Join us in the next chapter of Aurion and the Ancestral Wolves as the epic journey continues. Don't miss out on the action, subscribe to Black X Wolf Entertainment, hit that notification bell and become a part of the legend. The fate of the wolf world hangs in the balance and the story is far from over.
The world of wolves stands on the brink of an era shrouded in darkness. After the devastating battle that claimed so many lives, the wolf world has barely begun to heal. But just as the first rays of hope pierce the shadows, a new menace emerges from the very heart of the wolf realm. The ancient powers once thought to be vanquished have returned, not as mere echoes, but as a force that could eclipse even the mightiest of ancients. Aurion, now scarred by loss and burdened by the weight of his decisions, must confront a truth that could unravel everything he holds dear. The chapter begins with a wide, sweeping view of the wolf world, once a place of beauty and balance, now marred by the scars of recent battles. The Central Mountains, where the peaks are perpetually shrouded in a swirling, ominous storm. The skies above are a deep, foreboding gray, with flashes of lightning illuminating the darkened landscape. Aurion stands at the edge of a cliff, looking out over the valley below. His once vibrant fur is now streaked with the signs of age and battle, his eyes hardened by the trials he has endured. The eye of eternity hangs heavy around his neck, its glow dimmed, as if reflecting the weariness in Aurion's soul. As he surveys the land, a familiar presence approaches. Mistwalker, the loyal silver wolf who has been by his side through every trial. Mistwalker's normally confident stride is subdued, his eyes reflecting the same uncertainty that plagues Aurion. "Mistwalker," Aurion says, his voice low and gravelly. "Do you feel it? The air, it's changing." Mistwalker nods, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "The wind carries a scent I haven't smelled in ages. It's ancient, older than the ancients themselves." Aurion closes his eyes, letting the wind rush past him. The reign of shadows is coming. The power we thought we had buried is rising again. That night, Aurion dreams. He finds himself in the heart of the ancient temple, the sacred place where the history and power of the wolf world are etched into the very walls. But something is wrong. The temple is in ruins, the stone cracked and crumbling. The once bright murals depicting the glory of the ancients are faded and distorted, as if the very essence of the place is being drained away. In the center of the temple, Aurion sees a figure, an old wolf, his fur a deep shade of gray, with eyes that glow with an unnatural light. It is an ancient guardian, one of the first wolves to wield the power of the ancients. "Aurion," the guardian speaks, his voice echoing through the chamber like the tolling of a great bell. "The world you know is about to change. The shadows you face are not new. They are the remnants of a time forgotten, a time when the balance of power was not as it is now. You must go to the shadowed grove, where the veil between worlds is thin. There, you will find the answers you seek, and the path you fear." Aurion tries to speak, to ask the guardian what he means, but the dream fades, and he wakes with a start, the guardian's words still echoing in his mind. The journey to the shadowed grove is long and perilous. Aurion and his pack travel through dense forests where the trees twist and turn, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. The air is thick with mist, and the ground beneath their paws is damp and uneven, making every step a challenge. As they move deeper into the forest, the light begins to fade, as if the very trees themselves are absorbing it. The temperature drops, and the wolf's breath comes out in white puffs, hanging in the still air. Finally, they reach the heart of the shadowed grove, a place where the trees grow so close together that the sky is completely obscured. The air here is different, charged with an energy that makes the fur on their backs stand on end. In the center of the grove, surrounded by ancient stones covered in moss and lichen, lies a pool of water. Its surface is perfectly still, reflecting the twisted branches above. But there is something unnatural about it, something that makes even the bravest of wolves hesitate. Aurion steps forward, drawn to the pool by a force he can't explain. As he gazes into its depths, the water begins to ripple, and images start to form. Visions of the past, present, and future, all blending together in a chaotic swirl. He sees the rise of the ancients, the battles they fought, and the sacrifices they made to maintain the balance of the wolf world. He sees himself standing against the Riftborn, the pain of loss etched on his face. And then he sees something new. An army of shadows, their eyes glowing with a malevolent light, marching across the land, leaving destruction in their wake. Aurion pulls back, his heart pounding. The vision fades, but the message is clear. The reign of shadows is not just a threat, it is a certainty. And unless he can find a way to stop it, the wolf world will be plunged into darkness forever. Determined to prevent this dark future, Aurion makes a decision. He will awaken the power of the ancients, the force that once protected the wolf world. But to do so, he must first unlock the secrets of the ancient temple, the place where the power of the ancients is said to reside. The journey to the temple is treacherous, taking them through lands ravaged by time and war. The wolves must navigate crumbling cliffs, cross raging rivers, and fend off creatures twisted by the remnants of the rift's power. When they finally reach the temple, they find it as Aurion saw in his dream, crumbling and decayed, its once great walls reduced to rubble. But despite its dilapidated state, the temple still holds power, and Aurion can feel it thrumming beneath the surface. Inside, the temple is dark and cold, the air thick with the scent of dust and age. The walls are covered in inscriptions, ancient symbols that tell the story of the ancients and the battles they fought. Aurion traces his paw along the symbols, feeling a connection to the past. At the center of the temple, they find an altar, its surface etched with the same symbols that cover the walls. Above the altar, suspended in mid-air, is a crystal, a fragment of the Eye of Eternity, the source of the ancients' power. Aurion approaches the altar, feeling the power of the crystal resonate within him. As he reaches out to touch it, the crystal begins to glow, its light filling the chamber. The walls around them start to shift, revealing hidden passages and chambers long forgotten. But as the light grows brighter, Aurion feels a sudden surge of energy, a force so powerful that it threatens to overwhelm him. The crystal shatters, releasing a burst of energy that sends Aurion and his pack flying back. When the light fades, they find themselves in a new chamber, one filled with statues of the ancients, their eyes glowing with the same unnatural light as the guardian in Aurion's dream. The statues begin to move, their stone bodies creaking and groaning as they come to life. The ancients have awakened, and they are not pleased. Aurion and his pack find themselves surrounded by the awakened ancients, their eyes glowing with an eerie light. The atmosphere is tense, the air thick with the weight of ancient power and unspoken judgment. The leader of the ancients steps forward, a massive wolf with fur as white as snow and eyes that pierce through the darkness. Aurion, the leader's voice echoes through the chamber, deep and resonant. "You have awakened us from our slumber. What is it that you seek?" Aurion, though filled with awe, stands tall and meets the leader's gaze. "I seek the power of the ancients to stop the reign of shadows. The wolf world is in peril, and without your guidance, it will fall into darkness." The leader of the ancients narrows his eyes, studying Aurion closely. "The power you seek is not given lightly. It must be earned. You will face the trial of the ancients, a test of your strength, wisdom, and spirit. Only if you succeed will you be granted the power to save your world." The trial begins, and Aurion is tested in ways he never imagined. He must navigate a labyrinth filled with traps and illusions designed to test his resolve. He faces off against spectral wolves, each one representing a different aspect of his past, his fears, his failures, and the losses that have haunted him. But the final test is the hardest. Aurion is brought to a chamber filled with mirrors, each one reflecting a different version of himself. In these reflections, he sees the paths he could have taken, the choices that could have led to a different outcome. The weight of his decisions presses down on him, but he knows that he cannot falter. With a deep breath, Aurion confronts his reflections, acknowledging the mistakes he has made and the pain he has endured. He emerges from the chamber, not unscathed, but stronger, his resolve hardened by the trials he has faced. The leader of the ancients nods in approval. "You have passed the trial, Aurion. The power of the ancients is yours. But be warned, this power comes with a great cost. Use it wisely, or it may consume you." Aurion bows his head in gratitude. I will not fail you, or the wolf world. As the chapter draws to a close, Aurion, standing at the entrance of the temple, the newly gained power of the ancients coursing through him. The sky above is still dark, but there is a glimmer of light on the horizon, a sign that hope is not yet lost. The reign of shadows is just beginning, Aurion's voice echoes, filled with determination. But with the power of the ancients, we will stand against it. The wolf world will not fall, not while I still draw breath. If you've been captivated by Aurion's journey and the epic battles that lie ahead, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Black X Wolf Entertainment. The story is far from over, and the greatest challenges are yet to come. Join us next time as Aurion faces the ultimate test in Chapter 8, The Rise of the Shadow King. Will the light of the ancients be enough to fend off the encroaching darkness? Don't miss it!
The winds of fate have shifted, and the shadows that once lurked in the corners of the wolf world are now gathering strength. The power of the ancients has been awakened, but even that might not be enough to stop the tide of darkness that threatens to engulf all. Aurion, the last hope of the wolves, stands on the precipice of a battle that will determine the future of the realm. But in the depths of the wolf world, something far more sinister is stirring. An ancient force, long dormant, is about to rise. The Shadow King is awakening, and with him comes an era of darkness that could swallow even the brightest light. Prepare yourselves, for the rise of the Shadow King has begun. The chapter opens with a sweeping view of the wolf world, once again under siege. The skies, once touched with hints of dawn, are now a stormy mass of swirling clouds, the sun barely visible through the oppressive gloom. The air is thick with the scent of impending doom, as if the very world is holding its breath for what is to come. Aurion, now burdened with the power of the ancients, stands on the edge of a cliff overlooking the shadowed valley, a place where the shadows have grown so dense that they seem to have a life of their own. His fur, once a symbol of strength and purity, is now streaked with the dark energy of the ancients, a constant reminder of the power he wields and the cost of that power. Beside him stands Mistwalker, his loyal companion, and a few other wolves who have survived the trials and battles that have brought them to this moment. Their eyes are filled with a mixture of fear and determination, knowing that the battle they are about to face could very well be their last. Aurion, Mistwalker begins, his voice low and filled with concern. The shadows, they're growing stronger. I can feel them pressing against my mind, trying to take control. Aurion nods, his gaze never leaving the dark valley below. The Shadow King is gathering his strength. We've faced many challenges, but this is something else entirely. We cannot afford to hesitate. The fate of the wolf world depends on us. As they descend into the valley, the wolves are met with an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional whisper of the wind through the dead trees. The ground beneath their paws is cold and unyielding, as if the very earth itself has been drained of life. The deeper they go, the thicker the shadows become, until they are forced to rely on the glow of Aurion's power to light their way. The shadowed valley is a place of twisted beauty, where the remnants of once great forests now stand as skeletal monuments to a time long past. The air is heavy with the scent of decay, and the shadows themselves seem to pulse with a malevolent energy. As they reach the heart of the valley, they find themselves in a massive clearing surrounded by the remnants of ancient structures, pillars and stones covered in strange, unreadable runes. In the center of the clearing stands a massive stone altar, upon which lies a figure shrouded in darkness. Aurion approaches cautiously, his heart pounding in his chest. The figure is massive, easily twice the size of any wolf he has ever seen, and its fur is as black as the void. As he draws closer, the figure stirs, its eyes glowing with an unnatural light. The Shadow King has awakened. The ground trembles as the Shadow King rises to his full height, towering over Aurion and his pack. His presence is overwhelming, a palpable force that presses down on them, making it difficult to breathe. The air around him crackles with dark energy, and the shadows that have been gathering in the valley now swirl around him like a living entity. Aurion's heart races, but he stands firm, his eyes locked on the Shadow King's glowing gaze. "You are the one they call the Shadow King," he says, his voice steady despite the fear that grips him. "I am Aurion, bearer of the power of the ancients. I will not let you plunge this world into darkness." The Shadow King's voice is a low rumble, like the distant thunder of an approaching storm. "Aurion, I have heard of you, the one who seeks to defy the shadows, to wield the power of the ancients, but you are too late. The darkness that I bring is not something you can fight. It is inevitable. It is destiny." Without warning, the Shadow King lunges at Aurion, moving with a speed that belies his massive size. Aurion barely has time to react, summoning a shield of light just in time to deflect the attack. The force of the blow sends him skidding backward, his paws digging into the earth as he struggles to maintain his balance. The other wolves leap into action, launching themselves at the Shadow King with a ferocity born of desperation. But the Shadow King is no ordinary foe. He moves with a fluid grace, his attacks precise and devastating. One by one, the wolves are thrown back, their efforts futile against the sheer power of the Shadow King. Aurion knows that this battle cannot be won with brute force alone. Drawing upon the power of the ancients, he unleashes a wave of energy that sends the shadows recoiling. The light sears through the darkness, momentarily blinding the Shadow King and giving Aurion the opening he needs. With a roar, Aurion charges at the Shadow King, his body glowing with the full power of the ancients. The impact is explosive, the force of their clash sending shockwaves through the valley. For a moment it seems as though Aurion might have the upper hand, but the Shadow King's strength is far beyond anything he has ever faced. The battle rages on, each strike met with an equally devastating counterattack. The valley is torn apart by the sheer force of their struggle, the ground splintering, and the air filled with the sound of their growls and roars. As the battle reaches its peak, Aurion begins to feel the strain of the power he wields. The energy of the ancients is immense, but it is also a burden, a force that threatens to consume him if he is not careful. The Shadow King, sensing his weakness, presses the attack, driving Aurion back with a relentless assault. Just when it seems as though all hope is lost, a new presence makes itself known, a wolf cloaked in shadow but with eyes that burn with a fierce light. The mysterious figure leaps into the fray, striking the Shadow King with a power that matches even that of the ancients. The Shadow King is momentarily stunned, giving Aurion the chance to recover. Together, he and the mysterious wolf fight side by side, their attacks coordinated and precise. The tide of the battle begins to turn, and for the first time, the Shadow King seems to falter. But the victory is short-lived. With a roar of fury, the Shadow King unleashes his full power, the shadows around him swelling and consuming everything in their path. The mysterious wolf is thrown back, and Aurion is once again left to face the Shadow King alone. With the last of his strength, Aurion summons the power of the ancients one final time. The ground beneath him glows with a radiant light, and the energy surges through him, amplifying his power to its peak. The Shadow King, sensing the danger, charges at Aurion with a roar, his eyes blazing with fury. The two forces collide with a cataclysmic explosion, the impact sending shockwaves through the valley. The light and darkness clash in a violent struggle, each trying to overpower the other. The ground shakes, the sky darkens, and for a moment it seems as though the world itself might be torn apart. But in the end, it is Aurion who prevails. With a final, desperate push, he drives the power of the ancients into the heart of the Shadow King, shattering the darkness and banishing the shadows that have plagued the world. The Shadow King lets out a roar of pain and fury as he is consumed by the light, his form dissolving into nothingness. The shadows that once filled the valley are gone, replaced by the first rays of dawn breaking through the clouds. Aurion stands amidst the devastation, his body battered and bruised, but his spirit unbroken. The wolves that survived the battle gather around him, their eyes filled with awe and gratitude. The Shadow King has fallen, but at a great cost. As the chapter comes to a close, the valley, now bathed in the light of a new dawn. The world is scarred, but there is hope. A hope that was nearly extinguished, but has now been rekindled. The rise of the Shadow King was a trial like no other. Aurion's voice echoes, filled with both sorrow and resolve. But we have emerged victorious, stronger for the battles we have fought and the bonds we have forged. The wolf world is safe, for now. But the shadows are never truly gone, and the journey ahead is still fraught with danger. If you've been moved by the epic battles and the courageous stand of Aurion and his pack, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Black X Wolf Entertainment. The journey is far from over, and the future of the wolf world hangs in the balance.
The world of the wolves teeters on the brink of extinction. Aurion's legacy shines brightly, but the darkness that has threatened their world has not yet been fully vanquished. As the last vestiges of light fade, a final battle looms. A battle not just for survival, but for the very soul of the wolf world. In this ultimate chapter, the wolves will face their greatest and most terrifying enemy, knowing that this could be their final stand. This is the end of the road, the final dawn. Welcome to Chapter 10, The Last Stand of the Wolves. The sun hangs low in the sky, its golden rays casting long shadows across the battle-scarred land. The wolf world, once vibrant and full of life, now lies on the brink of annihilation. The grasslands are scorched, the rivers run red with the blood of fallen wolves, and the air is thick with the scent of decay. Mistwalker stands at the head of the last remaining wolves, their numbers drastically reduced by the unrelenting darkness. Each wolf carries the weight of loss, their eyes hardened by the battles they have fought and the friends they have lost. The colossal figure, the true architect of the Shadow King's reign, looms in the distance, a towering embodiment of pure evil.
We may not survive this, but we cannot let this darkness consume the world Aurion gave his life to protect. We fight, not for ourselves, but for every wolf that has fallen, for every life that will never be lived if we fail. We are the last line of defense. We are the legacy of Aurion.
The wolves nod in silent agreement, their determination unwavering despite the overwhelming odds. This is their final stand, and they will give everything they have to protect their world. The battle begins with a deafening roar as the colossal figure unleashes its dark power, a wave of energy that surges across the battlefield. The wolves charge forward, their movements synchronized and precise, a testament to the bond they share. They fight with everything they have, each attack driven by the memory of those who have fallen. Mistwalker leads the charge, his every move a blend of strength and strategy. He uses the power of the ancients, channeling the last remnants of Aurion's gift to strike at the heart of the enemy. But the colossal figure is relentless, its dark energy pulsing with a life of its own. For every blow the wolves land, the figure retaliates with devastating force. One by one, the wolves begin to fall. Each loss is a blow to the pack, but they fight on, refusing to give in to despair. The battlefield becomes a chaotic swirl of light and darkness, the wolves' fur matted with blood, their breaths ragged and strained. Mistwalker, now surrounded by the bodies of his fallen comrades, realizes that the battle is slipping away from them. The colossal figure is too powerful, its darkness too deep. But he also knows that they cannot afford to let this evil spread beyond the wolf world. In a final, desperate act, Mistwalker calls upon the full power of the ancients.
As Mistwalker channels the power, his body begins to glow with a brilliant light, a beacon of hope amidst the encroaching darkness. The colossal figure, sensing the shift, focuses its energy on him, launching a final, all-consuming attack. But Mistwalker stands firm, his eyes filled with resolve. He knows that this will be his end, but he also knows that it's the only way to stop the darkness once and for all. With a final howl filled with both sorrow and determination, Mistwalker unleashes the power of the ancients. The light explodes from him, engulfing the battlefield, consuming both the wolves and the colossal figure in a blinding flash. The darkness roars in defiance, but the light is too powerful, too pure. It burns away the shadow, obliterating the colossal figure and everything it touched. The wolf world is bathed in a brilliant, searing light as the last remnants of the darkness are erased from existence.
As the light fades, the battlefield is eerily quiet. The once vibrant world of the wolves is now a barren wasteland, devoid of life. The bodies of the fallen wolves, including Mistwalker, lie still, their sacrifice marking the end of an era. The sun, now high in the sky, shines down on the desolate land, a stark contrast to the darkness that once held sway. The wolf world is safe, but at a terrible cost. There are no wolves left to celebrate the victory, no voices to howl in triumph. The legacy of Aurion, Mistwalker, and the ancients lives on in the silence, a reminder of the ultimate sacrifice they made to protect their world. This is the end of the story, but not the end of the legacy. The wolves may be gone, but their sacrifice will never be forgotten. If you've been moved by this journey, if you've felt the weight of their struggles and the power of their resolve, then honor their memory by joining our pack. Comment and subscribe to Black X Wolf Entertainment. Their story may be over, but the spirit of the wolves lives on in all of us.